Okay, let's cut to the chase. If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you don't know Scrivener yet. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you feel some pressure to use it, to try it out. Maybe you came to YouTube and thought, sort of full of dread, okay, let me see how hard this thing is to learn since everybody is telling me to try it. Here's what I want to tell you before I start talking about Scrivener. You don't have to learn any software, including Scrivener. You don't have to learn any new device. You don't have to use any new fancy equipment to write a great novel. You can write a great novel on your phone or on your notes app or in a notebook that you buy at a pharmacy, like I have. Technology is not going to be what makes your novel good. And I think often it can be a distraction, a red herring, a procrastination device, a way for people to avoid facing the blank page, which is understandable. But if that's what you think you're doing by watching this video, and only you know if that's what you're doing, I encourage you to stop watching now and just go write. Go write however you were writing before, in Microsoft Word or in Pages or in a Google Doc or in your spiral bound notebook. These all work just fine and have for hundreds of years. Yes, I just said Google has been around for hundreds of years, but do any of us really know? Just kidding. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way, if you are sticking around, the next thing I want to say is that in the spirit of not procrastinating or mistaking writing with acquiring unnecessary knowledge about new writing software, I'm not going to be talking about the fancy bells and whistles in Scrivener today. Frankly, because I don't even know them. I have never bothered to learn them for the reasons I was just talking about. I'm here to suggest that you also not bother to learn the fancy bells and whistles of any writing software, including Scrivener. Not because they won't be useful, but because I think your time is so valuable and so much better spent being in the world of your story than learning some extra flair for how to separate out your characters by color or figure out how many times in your draft you use the word pruny. Like, those things don't ultimately matter, right? And frankly, for all the cool things that it can do, AI is really not able to tell you yet if you have written a good novel, just like it can't yet write a good novel. Whew, okay. All caveats aside, here's what I do think Scrivener is good for when you're new to it. When it comes to writing a novel, Scrivener is my favorite software. And here's why. I talk about this more at length in another video on storyboarding if you want to check that one out. But when you write a novel, you aren't just writing words, you're tasked with managing them, which to me feels a lot like managing a room full of toddlers. And I say that hypothetically because I've never managed more than 3 toddlers at once, and that almost killed me. We are talking about managing 70,000 words or more. Okay, so this is not just a writing or a revising challenge, I sometimes say. It's a project management challenge. I'll occasionally compare it to becoming a wedding planner without any training. You know, it's like you've never planned anything bigger than a 6-person dinner and suddenly you're planning an entire 18-hour event for hundreds of people. If you've written a novel before, you probably know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, you just may not know this yet. So here's what I mean. You can't wrap your head around all of the scenes that make up your story simultaneously. It's not possible. It's too big. You're eventually, after you have a first draft, typically, going to need some kind of visual representation of your first draft. And this could be, a table of contents or a storyboard. A reverse outline is something that I sometimes call it and others do as well. But whatever you use, by the time revision rolls around, you'll need a way to organize your work. And this is where Scrivener is super helpful. All you do is name each scene in Scrivener. That's it. As you write each scene or transcribe each scene, if you're me, since I handwrite, you give it a short name of just a few words. If your main character is being driven home from getting a nose job, you title it Driving Home from Rhinoplasty. If the elves at the North Pole go on strike, you title the scene Elves Go on Strike. Assigning names to scenes like this basically adds no time to your process, it just takes a few seconds, but it becomes incredibly valuable when you get to the revision stage. In a way, this is kind of like you're a rookie wedding planner who just got a whole system for wedding planning. It's like, thank God Jessica, the wedding planner across town who's done 1,000 weddings, just shared her planning template with me. That is what Scrivener is like. Point is, a novel is made up of scenes, and now you've named them. Once you've named them, you're golden. In Scrivener, you can move them around, drag them to different spots in your draft. It's great. And guess what? This is literally the only feature in Scrivener I use. I use nothing else. I sometimes have said that I'm using 5% of Scrivener. It's probably more like 1 or 2%. This is all I use, and it's all I need to use. It should take you about 15 minutes to learn it, maybe less now that you've watched this video. And frankly, I probably wouldn't spend more time than that learning how to use any software. So check it out. If you like it, I hope it's helpful. Speaking of writing a book, are you writing a book? Or do you want to write a book? Because if so, I'd love to hear from you. When I'm not writing, my mission in life is to help writers write their dream books. And I do this through my 12-month MFA alternative called the Book Incubator. You can apply at the link below or just go to thebookincubator.com. The application is only 2 questions. It'll take you under 5 minutes. I would love to hear from you.